Okay, gang, Kermit Weeks here, Fantasy of Flight, and I am out of Chino, California, and I'm looking around, and all of the cow houses and the places are like gone. They're like, this place is being taken over. Just to the south of me, you see nothing but million-square-foot warehouses. Anyway, coming out to Chino to check on the progress of the A-26. Oh my gosh, look at this. Oh my gosh, man. They're gonna be moving some sewer stuff out here.
Turn left.
Turn left, that road's closed. Man, this place used to be all big open fields, cows. This place is so changed. It does have a slightly better fragrance, but God. Anyway, so I have a new project that is going to surprise everyone. So we're almost there. Follow me. All right, let's see what we got going on here. I'm sure Carl is going to be totally aware of the fact that I'm going to be showing up with a camera running, so. If you notice, the A-26 is not outside right now. There's a reason for that. Huh. What's happening? There's my baby. This is not my baby. What's happening, man? What's going on? Yeah, so like, I can't see any smoke or anything.
You know, it's been pretty clear here because it all blows
yeah, okay.
out, I guess.
Huh, I'll be darned. No, even when we were coming in, I looked in the distance, I couldn't see any smoke, but you would have thought that that Eaton fire is just east of Pasadena. You can't see anything.
I don't even know where half those
But man, the
places
news is freaking hyping it big time.
Yeah.
Anyway, but whatever.
Well, I mean, it's a bad deal.
Oh,
but,
it is,
you know,
totally.
Thanks to Governor Scruson. You know,
Oh my gosh. And I driving in here, I can't believe all the changes in the road system and the routing and but at least you're getting that big road up there now. And the piping, I've never seen such big, so hopefully that's all for the sewage to get out of the political system.
I don't know what the, yeah, right, I wish. You know, this whole place around here is just out of control.
Yeah, it's going to change here pretty soon. Wow, okay.
Tucker.
Okay, let's check out Middle of some Mother Pepper here. What's happening? Lost his hat.
Right.
How you doing, man? Good to see you. Go. Oh my gosh. So what have you been up to? So Tucker here now is actually on my payroll, if you can believe it. So welcome aboard.
Thanks.
Cool. Oh my gosh.
Can I get on it?
Yeah, can you get on? Well, you can, but oh my gosh. Yeah, so
Does that mean I'd have to move to Florida?
yeah, so Carl, Carl
work remotely.
Carl had his partner Tony Ritzman for like forever anyway. So Carl's just, he's thinking about the future and his family, and things are changing around here a little bit, and he's working with Matt Nightingale, to do some different things, and they're expanding the engine shop and working on it. So Carl and I got some deals going, and that'll unfold as we go. So, but anyway, so pretty cool. That's interesting. And we're gonna one of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna look at different things here, because Tucker did that in the back there. And then he said, "Hey Kermit, this is showing some oxidation and stuff, and my airplane, this will be inside all the time." But so one of the decisions we're gonna have to make here is, what do we want to do? he's not really recommending that anymore. That's kind of a half shine.
Yeah, so it's still the same process up into. I mean, it looks like this underneath the polish. This is just adding aluminum polish over the top, kind of buffing it, and that's the only difference.
I see. Okay, so this gets.
It'll basically get to this point, and then you just go over it briefly with aluminum polish.
I see. Okay, yeah. I'm just kind of. I'm looking at that. He sent me pictures, and then the other option is the polished. Anyway,
high polish.
That's the high polish. Dang.
And you can kind of see where that's gone. It's kind of faded just a little bit. It's not 100% done. This is not.
Right.
This would not be the finished product.
Yeah, but my God, then you got to keep it up, and that was the original. God dang, the intent of the back there on the back.
Right.
Wow. So what's going on here?
So I'm looking into your.
Oh, that's just
I know one of
chromate.
your complaints for last summer was the fact that we did not have any ventilation in the cockpit.
Okay.
This would have been this panel. This one here might have been this one. This one here has been riveted over. Originally, this was they had nut plates on the backside and screws all the way around. This was your ram air duct for your heater and your cold air cockpit ventilation. There would have been a small scoop here. That there would have been a heater inside this entire space.
We don't
with all
need
the
the
duct
heater.
work. Right.
But there should, in Florida, we should have some.
You want some air,
Yeah,
so I was looking into that. Along the line, somebody had riveted this in,
Huh.
and it's now completely fixed to the airplane. So I
Cool.
took this panel off to see behind and see what was left, and it's been completely gutted. There is no duct, there's no nothing. So
Wow.
I'll have to look into that. I mean, you do have ram air on top, you know, where the eyebrow is.
Yeah, when the canopy blows open.
Or when the canopy blows open, right. So there is that ductwork there, or there's that small poppet airstream valve that allows air to go in, but that's not enough. It gets pretty hot in there, especially when you're sitting on the ground and there's really nothing happening.
Wow.
There's no airflow.
Yeah, a ding there, but that's part of the.
I think that was your that 92 Andrew.
Oh, Andrew, maybe?
I think Andrew did that.
Oh, we're going to call that an enemy bullet that scuffed it in France.
Glanced off, yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with this one here.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I'm going to have to look at this more, but I mean, off the top, I mean, that doesn't really bother me if it's inside. I mean, how much would it take to keep this going?
Right. I mean, not much. It just depends on what finish you want.
And then, so then this is basically this.
This,
you got it.
right.
Yeah.
So this has this right here. This section probably took me about maybe 20 minutes to do.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a deep polish job. It's not something you stay on it for a while and you want a mirror finish. You want like a satin finish.
Right.
And coming out of the factory, you would have had somewhat of a satin finish.
All right, so here is our new and latest project. Everybody's looking at that and they're going, wow, that's just, Kermit, what are you doing with another B-25? Are you ready for this? This is the only remnants of a B-25B Mitchell bomber on the planet, which is what the Doolittle Raiders flew. And this particular airplane is only 2 serial numbers off of Jimmy Doolittle's airplane. Okay, Carl has had this in storage out in the desert, and we got the rest of the fuselage, and he's got, you know, stuff for the center section, the wings and stuff. It's quite a bit different than the later B-25s, and we are going to do this up in Jimmy Doolittle's airplane original, and as we can. And anyway, Carl's had this forever. He's had other people he's tried to get to do the project, and I stood up. I'm gonna do it. They're gonna do it here, and at some point I've actually got a traction element at Fantasy of Flight that uses a Doolittle's airplane. Actually, I did it. It's an audio experience I did a long time ago, and so I thought, why not? I got one B-25, a J, but I'm the only guy on the planet that's gonna have a B. Other than that, that's all that's going on. Okay, we have a special visitor coming in. All right, this is Keegan Chetwin from Military Aviation Museum. Wouldn't you know it that Kermit would meet you here with a camera going? Oh my God, what's happening? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, come on in, check stuff out. Yeah, so, and you've never met Carl either. Have you talked to him on the phone?
Yeah, we've talked on the phone.
Yeah, okay. All right, super. Well, I filled him in a little bit on how I met you, what you used to do in the past. So I left all the illegal stuff out.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Anyway, cool. Anyway, so Carl, Keegan, Carl.
Yeah, we think about it. We met at NWAC, right? Because you sat down and talked about it.
Oshkosh, I think.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Cool.
I haven't
Anyway,
been to your shop before, so.
Well, this is the joint.
check it out. And
Aero
the
Trader started, well, at least at Chino Airport before we were out in the desert. But this is
That's-
the first hangar here.
one of my projects.
Oh, wow. Now, is this the one that you were flying a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, not a couple of weeks ago, but
Well,
probably
optimistic. A couple months ago, I guess.
Yeah, it was a video that we did a
Here I
while
half
back.
expected to drive up and see you guys flying around.
Yeah, no, I wasn't happy with the paint job, so we're looking at different options. And there was some internal stuff that we were, I really wanted to get done. The turret operates and go around, but the
That's pretty
seat
cool.
part didn't go with it. You had to move your feet around. So anyway, so we're working on that. Carl did my B-25 J, the Apache Princess. And anyway, so he's working with Matt Nightingale, and they're working and they're kind of doing some things. And Carl's kind of, backing a little bit out of certain parts of the business.
Getting ready to
but
retire?
Focus.
Retirement's a four-letter word, by the way.
Yeah.
But to scale back would be a better way.
Yeah. So anyway, so he's working on that, and they got an engine shop they're working on over here. They're expanding a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Okay, now we got a kind of an interesting project that's going to go together here. Check this out. Yeah, well, tell me what it is.
Well,
No, you Keegan, you tell me what it is.
Oh, jeez.
Well, it should be obvious.
I mean, it looks like a B-25.
It is a B-25. However, yeah.
it is the only surviving B model B-25 in the world of the 120 that were built,
Oh, that's cool.
which is the Doolittle Raider
Yeah.
version.
And we're going to
The
do it
turret
in,
all the way at the aft instead of...
we're going to do it in Jimmy's colors, and
that's
this airplane is only 3 serial numbers off of Jimmy Doolittle's airplane.
So what did this one actually do during the war?
I stayed here and then wound up in the movie studios, and that's
Did
why
they-
it's got a chunk cut out of it.
Did they use it at all for training for that particular mission?
No, this was not one of those airplanes.
Because there weren't that many B-25s, I guess.
They only
around.
built 120 B models.
This is awesome.
Yeah, so Carl's had it for quite some time out in the desert in storage, and he's got the back. This is just all we brought it from the desert right now. And, he's kind of always had it in the back as a dream there, and he's kind of pushed it a little bit, to some other people to do it, and nobody stepped forward. And I had done one of my audio experiences is Jimmy Doolittle, and it's about what do you do when the clock's ticking against you and you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
Is it about, you and your safety, or is it about the bigger picture? And that's what he did. So I thought, well, you know, Carl mentioned it, and the energies led me to go ahead, and so we're going to rebuild the airplane.
That's really cool.
So
Are there any actual B models that survive today, or are they all?
this is it.
This is it. You're looking at it.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I know they've moved the turrets around on some of the J models from museums.
No. The C and the D and the G models had the turret in the rear fuselage just like the B did. And then when they went to the H's and the J, it was when they moved the turret up front. So there were a lot of them that have the fuselage look similar to it was approximately the same as this.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other differences on the early ones, and they made different modifications into the C model.
You've done a lot of B-25s, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like this early in the production run, can you see that they're still hand-built, or are they, you know?
Well, I mean, I don't go along and count rivets and measure rivet spacing and stuff like that. But, I mean, there were a lot of, women and older men and minorities and stuff that worked in the factories that put these things together. And a lot of times, the first thing they ever did in their life as a job was to help build something like this. But I'd say that it's a pretty amazing accomplishment what the United States did in those days with time involved.
That's so cool.
Anyway,
I knew I
so
was going to come here and see something amazing. I just didn't know what.
Well, this is only part of it. There's more.
yeah. So anyway, it's going to be a cool project. Anyway, so they basically they grabbed it and they used it for a movie, and the center section here, they cut all this. So they cut this part off where the engine nacelle is, and so part of what we're going to have to do is Carl's got some other nacelles down there, and apparently the wings, the outboard wings were later. They were different. The ailerons were different. You were telling me.
Oh, minor differences. The length on the trim tabs were a little different and stuff like that. Minor differences, but basically the same.
All right. Oh, cool. Carl's going to do a lot of research on what they had, because I mean,
Will you be installing the broom handles as original?
Yeah, absolutely. yeah. There's no. I mean, when they did the Doolittle raid, they didn't have a lot of the extra armor. I think they had a nose gun, right?
Yeah, they had a 30 caliber in the nose.
Yeah, and anything else, they have a top turret because
top turret in the rear fuselage.
In the rear fuselage, yeah, because
and then they had a lower fuselage, a belly turret in the back, but not on the raid.
Yeah, not on the raid. Yeah, exactly.
So took that out and put fuel tanks in.
Yeah, because they needed. They knew they were going to be low level, and then basically flying low. They wanted protection from the top and the front, and they didn't have any tail protection. They just put broomsticks in the back, so we're going to put broomsticks. Do you remember what kind of wood that was out of? We got to be really original. So, anyway.
What's funny about that, Kermit, is those broomsticks were probably made in Norfolk, Virginia, because that's where the Hornet was built. Well, Newport News. So I'm sure there's a Navy specification for a broom handle out on the East Coast.
Yeah, the pedals look. The pedals look.
It was probably a
original
handle and not a $40.
And this is
nowadays the government probably has a $400 broom.
desert dirt. It's been in the desert storage area for a very long time. And normally, if this is the cockpit, there would have been a turret right up here, but they didn't have them in the early ones. They were in the back, not in the front. So anyway, that's what we're gonna work on. Okay, next day, coming out to Aero Trader, and it was a little noisy yesterday, so we're going to reshoot some things. Tucker sent me a bunch of photos of factory A-26s, and it was very enlightening on the finishes. So we are going to go look at polished jobs. Okay, so basically, you know, this is kind of what we were deciding, and kind of based on how Carl's B25 was. So this is just basically kind of an acid etched. It's been sanded
with Scotch-Brite. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so just Scotch-Brite from this, because this was what was under the paint. This was scratched up for the paint.
The paint was stripped, and then they roughed up the skin. Some of it is, some of it's what was under the paint. Some of it had to do where Bondo and everything was. They hit it with like 150 grit sandpaper.
I see.
Really,
scratchy up.
really scratchy.
Okay, so since that time, you know, we were looking at doing something like this, which is kind of cleaned up with a certain grit sandpaper,
Right.
and then and then it's acid etched, so it's got some few streaks in there. And Carl Scholl's B25 was done like that, and it's set outside. It kind of looked like it would look like if it had been in the war and it's out of the factory for a long time.
Rainwater streaks, and anywhere where there's oil stuck to it, dirt stuck to it, kind of thing.
Tucker sent me some pictures of some factory A26s and what they looked like in there, and they were a lot shinier than I thought.
Oh, yeah.
And I started looking at that, and we'd considered, I don't know, something telling me not to paint it. So we're looking for a polish option. This here, he said he did in about, 10 minutes or something?
Yeah, this is about a 5-minute section. Right? Just this side. The other side.
Yeah, but I mean, this one, so this
is super quick.
This is super quick from that, okay?
Correct.
And this is not really shiny, but I mean, it's definitely shiny.
It's a satin finish.
Yeah, why does it look dark to me? Is that just because it's
because we're in the hangar.
It's because we're in the hangar and the light? Yeah, see, so it depends on how you look at it.
Right now, anything with low light, it's going to look dark.
Yeah, okay. And then, he spent some time polishing a couple of parts here. And, as long as it's not an issue with the paint or something, I mean, that looks pretty darn nice. Anyway, so kind of the plan is we're going to basically get the whole airplane to this level. That's the first plan, because that's going to be the base of either that, leaving that, doing this, or doing the polish job.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, it looks kind of rough right now, but
Yeah.
but in the long run, man, it's going to start looking pretty cool. And I think when it's natural, which is the way it left the factory in the first place,
Correct.
is gonna look cool. And by the way, everybody, until Tucker, as of the beginning of this year, I had no full-time aircraft department employees. Part of the deal with Carl was he's focusing on other things, and Tucker is now my only full-time aircraft department employee. So pretty cool. Welcome aboard. All right, super.
Absolutely.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, looking forward to finishing this thing and getting her done.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to live for another 50 years. Anyway, cool, man. Okay, so this guy, apparently, he's gonna done a lot of research on the B-25B, so let's go check it out, Carl. So how long have you been doing research, and why the Doolittle?
Well, I
Raid
had
and
kind of
stuff.
a personal connection. My grandfather on my dad's side worked for North American from 39 to 45, and he was there when all of the Bs were built in Englewood.
Really?
Saw them all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no kidding.
And what'd you say, Carl? They built like 130?
120.
120.
And the Army Air Corps only accepted 119 because North American crashed one of them.
I'll be darned. Well, super. So you've seen this when it was down in the desert, right?
Yes.
And so what kind of research have you done, and how's it going to apply to our project here?
Well, as far as the research I did, just on bees specifically.
Okay. And the
not particularly-
details compared to the difference of the C's and the D's.
Yeah, all the external details I've got down pretty good. Carl knows a lot more about the interior differences than I do.
And so, Carl, what are some of the differences? I mean,
Well, they had a different fuel system in it and a different hydraulic system. They had a hydraulic hand pump on the side, and of course the radio stuff was a little bit different than the later ones. The control cables and stuff, control operation was, a lot of it was push-pull rods and bell cranks instead of cables.
you showed me that. So later they were cables, but this is all part of the.
That's the throttle mechanism stuff that comes from the cockpit through all these bell cranks and rods, and then out on the firewall for the operation of the carburetor and the so forth. And
I mean, the main thing was the top turret was in the back.
well, yeah, the early airplanes had the top turret in the back. The B's, C's, and D's and G's also had the top turret in the back.
Right.
But this was the first one that had the turret in the rear. Originally, it had a ventral turret on it also, but they didn't use those for the Doolittle raid. Obviously, they put a fuel tank in the rear fuselage in place of that, as well as tanks in other places.
And when did they go away with the ventral turret?
The H and the J models.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Huh.
the later ones. And another external obvious difference is they had a retractable tail skid.
Really?
Yeah, instead of a fixed skid. So, yeah, the early airplanes had the retractable.
And that was hydraulic, right?
Yes.
And hooked into the main gear.
Right, and the rest of this airplane, that stuff is in it, and it's sitting out there in the desert.
Yeah.
It had all that stuff. So another external difference that's not obvious to anyone unless they're right at the airplane is that the plexiglass was held in with external retaining strips instead of little spring tabs, spring clips that went inside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was the last one that they did that. The C's and later all had a different arrangement on that. But when you walk up to it, you can tell by looking that the glass is held in a little differently. And I think they changed that just for simplicity's sake, so the pieces could be changed quicker instead of undoing a whole bunch of screws.
Right. Huh. And this had a 30 caliber.
30 caliber. In fact, this is part of the mount, the stowage mount for it.
One of the unique things about the B's and A's, I guess, that they had the free-floating sockets. There was one on the side over here, one directly in the nose. There was no physical connection to any of these stringers.
Really? It
And
was
one
just
down there.
just in the plexiglass.
In the plexiglass,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
we had.
Really? And so the recoil didn't break the plexiglass?
Well, it was a 30 caliber. It was a little bit different
Yeah.
than a 50.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. And so you said there was one over here.
Yeah.
How did that work?
Well,
The
that
gunner
was
just picked it up and slid it into the ball socket.
Oh, in case, did he have one on both sides?
No, just the one side.
no, just the one side.
So why would he just do the left side? Oh, in case they were circling around and they were shooting at somebody? I don't know. Okay.
Talk to the
somebody in North
Talk to the
America
designers.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, but so you've got two ball sockets.
Yes, I forgot.
Okay.
They're 30
Right.
caliber, not 50.
Huh. Carl's got a
And
nice
the
set of
30
balls,
calibers
that's all I'm saying.
And the 30 calibers were very visible because they were in a rack at a 45-degree angle right there to where you could see it through on both sides.
Okay.
Just for stowage purposes. And then the bombardier up here would grab it, slide it down into the ball socket, and then he could
Huh.
fire it.
So this thing's going to be a little different than most B-25 owners have seen.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool.
And did this one have the autopilot?
This particular airplane has it in it, but I don't. As far as we know, the Doolittle Raiders did not have autopilots in it, so they
not that
either
I know
took that out or they were built.
Yeah.
I don't. That's a question we haven't answered yet.
Yeah, well, when we do answer it, we're going to try and make the airplane as original to Jimmy's airplane as we can.
Right.
That's the plan. Pretty cool.
And it had no nose art of any kind or a name, as far as I know.
Did it have a number?
Oh yeah, it has
Yeah,
a serial
yeah.
number on the tail.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so yeah, we'll mimic that. We'll find out what kind of wood they used in the fake machine gun sticking out the back, and have the broomsticks basically is what they did. Was there anything different in instruments or radio type stuff? Is all that stuff available?
The original instruments, yeah, we've got the original instrument panel that came out of this, and it was pretty standard.
Okay, good. And there wasn't like an oddball early instrument that's hard to find anymore. You got all that stuff?
I don't think so. I think we've got it.
Cool. Oh my gosh! So we got a little bit of dirt here from the desert. I tell you what, the rudder pails look the same as the.
They are. A lot of the stuff is just generic. It fits a lot of, all the B-25 series. A lot of the stuff is the same.
Fuel selector down there.
Yeah. Now the one other difference in the cockpit area is the fuel selector stuff was different in this airplane.
Okay. Huh.
But with having that panel, that original panel, that's going to help us make sure we get it exactly right.
So in my J, there's a turret that's
Right.
basically up there. So what's different back here in the B model?
This is the navigator station.
Oh,
Turret was in the top of the rear fuselage instead of the front.
well then, so the navigator in the J is in the nose?
The navigator was probably not even a
Really?
real position per se.
One of the other things about the early models, all of the window panels here were flat. They didn't have bulge plexiglass like
Oh, okay.
these were all just flat panels.
Huh.
And there's an astrodome up on the top that it had in it. And the escape hatch for the pilots was much smaller in the original framework, but we've got all those original parts to put that back.
Cool. So it's kind of interesting that it's not a dome, that it's not circular.
No, it's got rounded edges, which is kind of nice. You don't cut yourself.
Too cool. Well, all right. And then at some point, when do you think you might be bringing the back of the airplane up?
You tell me when you want it up here.
Yeah,
We can do it. We can do it anytime.
Yeah.
It's ready to transport.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, and just out of curiosity, so Matt Nightingale's guys are going to be doing pretty much the work.
Right.
Carl's going to be the head guy and doing all the research and understands it with help from friends, Stephen, and basically, probably put a couple of guys on it. Maybe I've got a number in my mind, kind of what we were doing before for Matt. That'd take care of a couple of guys plus some, parts and materials, per month. So we'll work on
We'll
that.
figure that out with Matt.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Here we go. I've walked around it a few times. So you tell me what you focus on besides just cleaning out the dirt.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is making sure we get everything uncovered inside. So getting the dirt out, getting it cleaned out, washed out, understanding those are all autopilot servos. Is that what those are?
Yeah, but from what we can determine that they didn't have autopilots in the planes that went on the raid. So they may have originally been built with them, but they were taken out from the raid. And that was probably some of the stuff that was done up in Minneapolis at Continental when they did the mods on the airplanes. So those will come out.
So with this, it's a great example of having the original stencils still on the airplane and inside the airplane. And so we'll go through and we'll just spend a good month cleaning everything out and starting to put penetrating oil on all the steel parts so we can take the stuff apart and appropriately preserve what we need to preserve. We want to be able to keep it as obviously exactly as Jimmy had them flying off the carrier. So
Yeah, Carl said this thing's only like 3 serial numbers off of Jimmy's airplane.
So next to the last one built, and this is 2347. Jimmy's was 2344, and 2348 was the last one.
So what was the history on this one here?
It was in the States as a training ship, and then it went into the movie studios and wound up being a camera ship not a camera ship, but a set for one of the movies that had B-25s in it. And Bruce Horace has done a lot of documentation on that, and I've got some research on that too to find out for the the real history of this particular serial number.
Right.
And that's the important part of it too, is why it survived.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they only built 120 of them. The Air Force accepted 119, one crashed, and this is the only one surviving out of the 100.
Unbelievable. So, since Jimmy's the main player in the B model, this is how we're going to do it.
So you can see the evolution on how the B-25s were produced later on. So this is early one has it's all control rods running through
Right.
through the system. As for the later ones, were all cables. And so they simplified the system and made it easier and gave them more space, and it probably lightened the airplane up substantial too, getting rid of all of that.
Pretty cool.
So you can see a lot of the original stencils. And
Yeah.
so that was a blowout plug for fire extinguisher?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And where was that fire extinguisher?
It was CO2 mounted in the nose well, and that continued through the whole line of B-25s as it turns out. Yeah. But the post-war ones have been modified.
So was there any difference, Carl, in the and do you have the control wheels and all that kind of stuff?
I don't have the ones out of this particular one, but they're all the same.
Oh, they're all the same. Okay, I mean the pedals look the same as
No,
my.
they're the same. No, there was
Yeah.
no changes in that regard. There were some other arrangements in the cockpit that were different, but and fuel selector stuff. There's a panel over there. That's the original panel. It was in the center console, and the fuel selectors were slightly different. So,
Huh.
Are they similar to what they were in the C's?
yeah, similar to the C. But
C.
see, that airplane's been modified also.
Correct. No,
so-
but I've been looking at C drawings, and
right.
so yeah.
And we also have another C airplane out in the desert that we can use for Polish blueprint too.
Okay.
Yeah. How about things like radio gear or anything like that that would have been different from early
One
to
of the
late?
things that we will determine that Steve Whitby is working with us on is determining exactly which radios they left in the airplane. I think all they had left was ship to ship. They did not have any long distance communication on the airplanes. None of those radios. They took all that stuff out at the mod center up in.
Yeah, just to get the weight out.
Well,
I mean, it was a one trip.
one trip deal, and they didn't want to didn't want it to wind up in the hands of the Japanese for one thing.
Yeah. But actually, though, I mean, originally it ended up being a one-trip deal. But originally, if they would have been 200 miles closer, they were going to land and keep going and refuel.
That's
I'll be
true.
done.
That was the plan, but
Yeah.
plans don't always work out.
Yeah. Imagine that. Too cool.
So yeah, we'll go through and we'll catalog and find, clean areas that haven't been, sun drenched, to confirm what colors paints we have in here. And then I'm sure I'm working on getting the drawings, working with David Schwartz at the Smithsonian. And so he works in the archives, and he kind of finds things that don't exist for the general public. And so I've been able to just have him, as he's going through, or if he remembers seeing, he will, as a service, when you apply for it, he'll go into actual downtown Washington and pull stuff out of the archives if they have it cataloged in there.
Awesome.
So
Super. No difference in the landing gears and all that kind of stuff.
Landing gear's all the same. Wheels and brakes and stuff are identical. North American stuff was very simple by comparison to some of the other manufacturers.
Yeah.
Starts with war.
now the nose is different, though, the way that they do the nose.
Well, yeah, the plexiglass is held in with external strips on the B's and earlier. The later ones had spring clips that held it in there, and I'm sure that was just an operational thing so that they could change the plexiglass easier when they have a problem with it. But I have another complete nose assembly, as a matter of fact. This whole framework has got all the right strips. Most of these strips are laying in here somewhere, but I have actually two more complete nose frameworks.
That's some kind of a on the door, huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
And this is the original mount for the bomb sight. And
Is that the salvo, the bombs, or
bomb
something?
salvo, yes.
Okay.
And that lasted up through the D models, I believe. And the other thing that we have that we can put in this thing is I have one of the 20-cent
bomb sights that they made for these airplanes, because they took the Norden bomb sight out and they made this little
Right.
simple sight.
Yeah, because they were going to be at a certain altitude and
Well, I have one that was
certain
made
speed.
by one of the Raiders, and I picked it up at an
Oh,
auction down
really?
in Titusville one time.
Oh, wow,
So
cool.
that can go in it.
Awesome.
Instead of on my shelf in my office.
Oh, thank you.
And
That's
it's
awesome.
signed by Sally Crouch. He's the one that made it. He
Awesome.
was one of the pilots.
Pretty cool.
It's going to be a fun project.
It's going to be an awesome project. Thank you, Carl.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
You got it.
It's going to be great. We'll keep everybody informed about what we're up to. So Kermit Weeks over and out.